Welcome to another episode of Your Way with Noe. It is November 3rd. We're making tough decisions. We're talking a very divisive topic today that will get a lot of feelings rattled. We are talking K-pop today. Worldwide phenomenon of the recent years that has happened, and I brought four good friends of mine who are pretty much as knowledgeable, if not even more than I am in K-pop, and I am so glad they made time to come out. We're gonna have a lot of fun, and we're also gonna talk a lot of great topics when it comes to K-pop. Let me start from my screen from the top. And then we'll work our way to the bottom. So if you guys are actually true fans of the show, you remember Van from episode 1. Hello, Van. How are you?
Hi. Thanks for having me back.
First
Nice to be here.
First person to be twice on the show already. Van.
Hey, I feel special.
Next to her is Maureen. How are you, Maureen?
Hi, I'm doing good.
And then right below we have Nurul. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
And then right next to her, my manager,
Oh my god!
co-founder of Boba Tea Entertainment.
Oh my god!
Trang, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm good. Excited to be here.
So we're already giggling because we just love this topic so much. So let's start soft. Let's go through each of us. And do you guys remember your first K-pop song that you listened to, or when the first time you were like, I like this song, and it was K-pop? Let's start the reverse. So Trang.
Oh, so for me, I started listening to K-pop back when I was like a little kid. I want to say maybe like 2004, 2005 was when I started listening to K-pop, and the very first song I listened to was by TVXQ, and it was their debut song, Hug. So I went over to my friend's house one day, and we usually just go over there just to chill, and then she was listening to TVXQ and she was watching their music videos, and then I clearly remember the stage that I was watching. They were like sitting on their stools singing Hug, and I was like, oh, who's that guy? And it was Max. And then she showed me who all the members were and like showed me all these music videos and stuff. And then she literally burned me. That's how old this is. She burned me a CD. Like a DVD filled with like their songs and a bunch of music videos and like commercials and stuff. And so that's how I got into K-pop, and I've been listening to it ever since.
Nurul.
Me? Okay, so I grew up in Thailand. You guys know that, right? And so in Thailand, I have a lot of different types of friends from different countries. And so I didn't realize up until I went to college where I got into K-pop, where I actually grew up with K-pop. But I didn't know it was K-pop. I didn't know it was just music. And so I knew like songs like Nobody by Wonder Girls and CN Blue, but I didn't know it was like K-pop. I didn't know it was them. And then my best friend in high school, she's Korean. And so sometimes she would like update me with Korean songs, and I would update her with like English songs and stuff like that. And then during 8th grade, I remembered we had a talent show, and I asked her if she wants to join me, and she suggested that we should do like English songs and Korean songs. And so half of the dance choreo was low, you know, the upper bottom jeans song, and then Goodbye Baby. Goodbye Baby.
Oh.
And I'm like, in 8th grade, and I watched the video today earlier, and I watched it, and we were so bad, but it was too funny. Like, And but yeah, I remember that song specifically. And throughout the years in high school, we would do like Korean choreo, but I wasn't into K-pop yet. I would dance to My by A-Pink and other songs, but yeah. So, anyways, yeah.
Maureen.
So for me, I would say I knew of K-pop, I would think this was probably when I was in elementary school. I came back to Taiwan and I was actually hanging out with one of my friends, and it was to Super Junior Sorry Sorry. And she asked me, because I was from the States, and so in Taiwan, and she was learning English in Taiwan, and so she asked me what did shoddy mean, because they did shoddy.
Oh, that's funny.
And I was like, I don't know what that means, so I couldn't tell her, and so she showed me the video, and I was like, oh, this song's pretty catchy, Fast forward, I really then knew of K-pop in middle school. I actually maybe like middle to closer to high school, freshman year specifically. I saw it was another Super Junior song. I think it was called Mr. Simple.
Oh yeah.
Mr. Simple. And I was like, oh shoot, these guys are pretty good looking. I already had like a bias picked out by then, and yeah, it kind of just soared from there thanks to Super Junior.
Van.
So I don't want to give away my age, but this is probably going to give it away.
Van is probably easily the most experienced person when it comes to K-pop in this whole podcast.
Not like the most experienced. I guess it's just like how long I've been listening to it. So like similar with Nurul. I grew up from Vietnam. Like I was born there. So in Asia country, K-pop was like already heavily influenced way before it hits like international in any other country, like Europe or like the US, Canada kind of things. So my first songs, or I don't know if it's the first song, but the first artist I knew of was Boa from SM, and I think the song was either Number One or I think Rock You or Rock With You or something like that. But it was basically Boa, and then I was like, oh my gosh, she's so pretty. She was like 13, 14 at the time, and then from there I got into like HOT. Oh my god, like Chinois, like super old, first generation.
OG.
I don't know, first, like K-pop and like HOT Candy and all that. So it started off from there for me. I think my brother actually got me into it. Funny enough, he doesn't listen to K-pop, but back then he was super into like Boa. So I listened to Boa from there, and I started buying like CDs of her and all that. And yeah, it just kicked off after that. I was starting to go into like other SM artists, so like DBSK, like Trang, and then Super Junior, and then it branched off until now.
That's really cool. To the listeners, they probably heard a keyword in probably everyone's story that was the word bias. And they're probably wondering, well, bias, I understand the definition of bias, someone you favor, and okay, can someone explain what bias, who would like to take that question, like explain what a bias is?
Trang.
I was gonna say Nurul. Yeah. I think Nurul should do
it. Bias is someone that you favors more, or the one, or that one person that stood up to you the most. So I guess your favorite, yeah. And so
you love the others too, but you love this person just
a little bit more.
A little bit more.
And actually, there's this quote, or I guess tweet, where people say your bias is who you connect with more, or like who you are, and your bias wrecker is your type. Is your type that you think that you can date, That's why they're a bias wrecker. A bias wrecker is the one that can take your place, their place as your bias, but not really. But they sometimes they show themselves, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna get influenced with this person. Like, so,
And
that's what I heard.
so most K-pop groups, for those listening, they're mostly groups. Mostly they are at least composed of four or more, from what I've seen from what I've seen in K-pop. And that's the word bias. Like, bias is basically your favorite person among the group. And uh, I guess you do have multiple. You have one in each group usually. About So going off from that, about how many groups you guys think you've gone through where like that was your group at a certain point, and then later on, unfortunately that group retires, and then you move on. So how many groups do you think you guys have cycled through at this point? I see Van
Let me
counting
count real
fingers.
quick.
Van, how many
I think mine is probably like five,
five?
five groups. Like five main ones that I like were originally like love.
Mm-hmm.
That I had, and then eventually they end their contracts. They disband or something like that. So now it's I think one group.
Maureen, how many?
I would say the same amount, because like a lot of the OG groups that I listened to that were really like, I would say they probably were the biggest people who broke through the K-pop like industry for others. Like a lot of them ended their contracts and like moved on to like acting or
Solo
solo
modeling.
careers. Yeah. And uh, unfortunately, like my place, like my heart will always have a place for those groups. Like um funny enough, whenever I hung out with Train Band, I think Noah, you were there too. Like 4 minutes song came up.
Yeah.
They are an
Oh
expanded
yeah.
group, but I would say like they have their songs like still top the charts like to this day. I think it's still cycling through in one of like K-pop's like most viewed like top 50 most views videos or something like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Nurul, how many groups do you think you've cycled through at this point?
I don't know. I mean, like growing up, I didn't really have a group that I like stan. I guess I didn't like growing up. I didn't know what bias is or bias wrecker or even like yeah. I didn't wasn't overly obsessed than I am now. So it was just more of like, oh, I really like this song. Like it was just like, oh, this song, I know this song and stuff like that. I wasn't like, oh, I really like this group. But I guess when I went into K-pop, the first like really went into K-pop in 2016 was when GOT7 and EXO and stuff like that. It's basically because of my friend who was into K-pop too. She was introducing me into the groups and stuff like that. But once I got sucked into the hole of K-pop, and then me like venturing out by myself, I just have like two main groups that I really like listen to and buy their albums and stuff like that. So, and so yeah.
Trang?
So guy groups, I'm on my fourth. I'm on my fourth. But girl groups, I guess yeah, like girl groups, I have favorites and stuff, and I guess I don't I stand them, but I'm not as obsessive, I guess, as I am with the guy groups. But yeah, I guess I would say I would be on my fourth.
And for those listening, you probably heard another keyword, which was generations. And K-pop unofficially is broken down by generations, basically meaning decades or certain part years that um, define particular groups when they were very popular. And sadly, just like any artists, at some point they fade away. what's common is a 7-year contract, I believe, right? Is the common practice for most K-pop groups.
Yeah, 7 years
Yep.
is typical like it's like, oh, 7 years is if you made it pretty big. After that, like you're probably not going to renew another 7-year contract.
Mm-hmm.
So
They always say it's like the 7-year curse.
yeah.
So after
So
7 years,
once a group starts to get towards their 7 years, people start to worry like, oh, are they going to renew their contract? Is there going to be somebody that maybe not going to renew the contract, and then everybody else is going to continue and things like that. So
and from what I understand, we are currently what's debuting right now is the fourth generation. From what I understand, right? The
Yeah.
newest groups, you would say, you would call them the fourth generation. So we're probably on the fourth. Who would you say the first generation? Obviously, like HOT, Chickies. Who else would be up there for you guys in the first generation from what you remember?
Finkel.
Who was that?
Finkel,
again?
SCS.
Oh,
Yeah,
The
SES.
Baby Vox, VOS.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't. Are they first generation? I'm not really sure, but that's
The I would consider them first stream.
Yeah,
I think
HOT.
I mean, that's when I got into it, but
Would-
I don't know the generation wise.
Shinhwa's probably also considered first generation too. That's
Yeah,
like
I
when
don't
they
know if
first-
Shinhwa and TVXQ kind of go into
the
that
middle.
first generation, or if they're kind of starting the second, along with like Super Junior and all of them.
and you get to the
Oh,
second
that's
generation,
true.
which is considered like the golden generation, which is like
Yeah, like Big
It's like-
Bang,
Big Bang.
Generation.
Super Junior, TVXQ,
21.
21.
God and all those. This is like the golden generation. That what years would you define that as?
2000, wasn't it?
2000.
It's like early
Or-
2000s,
2000s.
and then I
2000,
think
2010-ish. That's when.
yeah, I think around
That long.
2010, 2009, and between like 2009, 2014 or 15 maybe is like third generation, where you have like
Your Twice, your
have, like-
Blackpink, your
got
BTS.
seven,
BTS, yeah,
M
EXO.
Black,
EXO.
1 Minute,
What
EXO,
what's
yeah, all
what people think is probably the most popular groups right now? They're third generation, right? For the current people right now that are probably getting into
I
K-pop.
think
Yeah, I would think so. It's like all
And-
the ones that people know now, like what,
Mhm.
BTS,
Blackpink.
EXO.
And then now we're getting into the new younger generation, the fourth generation, which is like your ITZY, your Stray Kids, your TXT, right? And
Hmm. Yeah.
So when it comes to those decisions of it's time for the group to go, we're fans. We want to see them, so go on, move on and stuff, but you also want the group together. From those groups that at some point parted ways, could you explain your feelings and also what you've kind of felt from the fandom? I know maybe nowadays people are more connected to the fandoms because of the communities and online, but maybe from what you got from fellow fans that you knew of that specific group.
I'll go first.
Go, man.
I think it also depends on my growth, like my age. So if let's say if I was a teenager and then I got into like a group that they're just about to end the contract, I think I would be super heartbroken. I think I would be depressed. But now I think that I'm older, it's of course I'm sad, but I understand more of their perspective that eventually they have to branch out. They want to do their solo activities and what is better for them. So as sad as I am as a fan, I'm still happy for them and I still support them in their solo career for each and every single one of like the idols, I would say. So it really depends. And I think also for the fans too, if you have younger friends that are also in the fandoms, they would have a super different perspective than you are. So they would be like, oh my god, no, like this can't happen. We need to sign a petition to keep them together. type of things like that. But for the older fans, they're more of like understanding of why it happens the way it is. So that's my take on it.
Maureen, do you remember? Like, I think 4 Minute you said was one of the groups that you really
Mm,
liked a lot.
yeah, for a minute, I would say the most devastating for me was probably Sistar.
Oh
They
my
were
gosh, yeah.
dubbed the Queens of Summer. Like every single summer, they had a song, and I remember always listening and looking forward because their hits were always summer songs. It's like, okay, summer, we already have a new song, and it's blasting for the entire summer, and it would always hit the charts. So when they had ended and they're like, okay, this is our last song together. It was really sad because they put that last song together very beautifully. It was all of their basically big hits, and they had innuendos essentially like going back into when they first started their career into that video that fans literally broke down like, oh, this item symbolized, the high heels that they wore during training to practice because high heels symbolized, the sexy concept of Sistar. So when they had disbanded, it was really sad because I realized that, oh, summers wouldn't be the same without them anymore. Um, Granted, some members eventually went to solo careers, but what really hit me the most was the fact that, like I was still pretty young, like I was still, in high school, transitioning to college. Like I'm never going to be able to attend any of their concerts, like ever, unless like they get together maybe 10 years or 5 years down the line, like by chance. And so I think that's something like that. It really kind of puts things into perspective, like, oh, you know, if you're able to like attend a concert to like a favorite group, like you'll cherish that memory a little bit more because, 10 years down the line, that group probably wouldn't exist anymore. So yeah, I would say Sistar is probably the biggest group I took to heart. Everybody
I
else,
agree with Maureen. The
Yeah,
saddest
too.
part is not able to attend the concert once they're
Yeah.
over. That's the saddest part for me. So now I'm trying to go to every concert possible. Well, not now, but in the future.
Nurul, what breakup that hurt you the most?
I didn't really have any, I don't think, that I took to heart, but I think sometimes I saw that video where IOI, the girl group that like only got contracted for I think 1 year, 1 year and a
Yeah,
half,
it's one
I think.
year only. I was only
1 year, yeah, for their Produce 101 survival show. And their last, I saw that, I don't know why, I always end up watching and crying to their last concert clips. And they were just singing their like sad song, I think their goodbye song. And it really hits me because I think like nothing really lasts forever. And now because like Maureen said about attending concerts and that feeling of seeing your group in person is such a like it's a like a different feeling because you see them and you're like, oh, they're there, And so because of and then now because of COVID and stuff like that, it's really hard to attend. And we don't even know when this is going to end. And so with that, with the groups that are getting older and contracts are getting closer to where it's gonna end, it's really hard to like know when you're gonna see them. And so that really hits me too now to think about because I was supposed to go to BTS this year.
All of us, girl.
All of us
we still have it
together.
You know what? I went to war for that. I went to war and I can't see them and because of like the uncertainty where the members, because they're boy groups, the members have to go to the military for a certain amount of months, that it's hard to when they're going to come together again as a group, And so it's like, I don't know, I can't really think about like anyone that I like this then. And I hate probably gonna cry like for like a month if like one of my groups that I really like is banned at this point. But yeah.
But yeah, for those who don't know that are listening, in Korea, all men are required to serve in the military between the age of 21 and 28, I believe. They must do at least 2 years of service, from what I understand, in the military. That it's obligatory for everyone. The only exceptions that you get are people who win very prestigious prizes, such as like a Nobel Peace Prize or an Olympic medal. That's the standard that they have for themselves. Aside from that, no matter who you are, whether you're a celebrity or just someone, a young man just working in a farm, you have to go to the military, and it's just their law. Um, but yeah, Trang, what group?
Um, well, so like I said, I'm like on my fourth group already, right? On my fourth guy group. So I don't know. I feel like the groups that I have stand in the past, they've all had kind of different I guess farewells. So there was TVXQ with, their whole lawsuit issue, and they ended up splitting three, and they formed their own group, JYJ, and then the remaining two that we see now, with Max and they're still promoting as TVXQ, but it's not the same. And I think the thing with for me was that I was so young that I didn't really know about, I guess, like music shows and like watching them on like award shows, stuff like that. And of course never got to go to like a concert or anything. I never really bought any merch because, again, like, I was a little kid, like I wasn't gonna make my mom like buy me all this merch. So that one kind of hurt because it's like, that was like my first K-pop group. And so, not being able to ever see them together, like, kind of sucks. Um, and then the next group that I really liked was Beast. And that was like back in high school. And for them, they had their high, and then they kind of just like faded. And I guess as I grew up and as I started listening to more K-pop, I guess my interest also started to fade. Also, I guess them fading along with me getting into different music or different groups kind of went along together to where I then started, getting into a different group. So then, theirs was kind of just like a steady um, fade, but the same thing, didn't really get to go see them in concert or anything like that. So, it kind of sucks now that they're not all together anymore. And then the next group, Infinite, which was also around that time period, my bias, he's like this one right here. He's that one. But he ended up leaving the group. Like, he decided not to renew the contract. So then, that really hit me. I guess that's the one that hit me the most because that was somebody that was like my bias, my stand. Like, he was my husband. Like, I wasn't able to see him anymore. I didn't get to go to a concert. I remember I had the opportunity to go to a concert, and then I ended up not being able to score the ticket that I wanted. And so then I ended up just not going. And now, can't see them forever or forever, like, at all.
I think we were
So
supposed to go to Canada, right?
yeah, we're supposed to go to
Yeah.
Canada.
Aw.
Yeah, but it's like everybody kind of said, appreciate the moments that you have now, while you're into, all these different groups. If you can go to a concert, try to your best to go. If you can, watch their music videos or watch their performances live, that's also an experience in itself. If you want to support them, buy their merch, stuff like that. But everybody has their time, and you kind of know when it's like, okay, it's okay for them to leave. Like, they know what they're doing. Like, let them take their new path. So
Okay, so we've been talking about contracts and timing and years. So let's get into the weeds. Let's talk training years and the training system and our feelings when it comes. This I said it was gonna be a controversial podcast episode. Um, so I'll explain this one for those who are new to K-pop. When it comes to K-pop groups, it's not how, let's say, us five we get together, or more like, or more realistically, there than four, get together and start a girl group. It doesn't work that way when it comes to K-pop. You go to a label, and you basically go through an academy where they teach you how to dance, how to act, how to sing, how to act as a celebrity, how to, and it's not easy. A lot of people uh, get never they go through years in this academy and just never debut at all. The label just never, they're like, yo, you're just not that good, or you're not good enough. So they spend years and they just never debut. And those lucky ones who do, they become a K-pop group. And it's not like you pick your friends. The label just literally picks you and you. You guys, I think you guys would work well. You guys have kind of fit what we're trying to do, and they debut them. And success is also not granted for that. But um, one thing that has become popular alongside with how controversial the academies can be sometimes, the trainees, is the recent popularity of trainee shows that has come, and it's become even a political thing when it comes to Korea, when it comes to like people asking for fair shows, for fair debuts, when it comes to K-pop groups. So I'm just gonna open up the table, like, who has an opinion when it
I'll be honest, when the debut shows first came out, like the original Produce 101 group, I did not want to watch it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is 100 plus girls competing with each other for, I think it was top 11 spots. Is that right?
11, 12, like that.
Something like that. No, see, here we don't even know. We don't even know. But it's like 100 plus people, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's gonna be drama because it's all females. There's gonna be a lot of hormones everywhere, and there's gonna be a lot of like just a lot of hard work. And I just wasn't very interested in it. I don't know why. It's just a part of me didn't want to really watch it. But when they debuted it out, it's like, oh, like you see their work. It's like, okay, you finally know like who came out up on top. But for the guy group, because Produce 101 became such a big success that they decided, oh, let's do a guy version of Produce 101. I watched that one. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's guys. I was like, oh, this is going to be fine. Like, it's going to be less dramatic. And maybe it's because producers edit the footage a certain way that, it's hard to showcase 100 plus different individuals and their talents. And they break these in the training camps, at least they break them all down into like individualistic groups. But even within the group, like you'll have some people who are a little bit more well known than others, and so producers might focus their show screening time a little bit more on one specific group that they know, like, yeah, we know these people are really doing really well and are higher ranked than some of the lower ones, and so we're going to give them a little bit more screen time. And so it kind of pans out to be that way. And I think we've definitely seen the K-pop industry has seen so much success that there's even a spin-off version in China. And I think there was another spin-off after that where it was Korean and Japanese trainees put together. So the training time frame has come a long way to where it currently is, where there's like these trainees have pretty decent living conditions, because in our previous and Trang, I think, and Van can jump into this part, where in the, I guess, like original, probably in the second, third generation, like when they trained, like I'm pretty sure their living conditions weren't what was shown in Produce 101.
Yeah,
elaborate.
I mean, like,
I agree.
So from the groups that I stand back then, like just watching, reality shows and stuff that they were on, you would see, they're in these tiny little apartments, like, there's be like 2 or 3 guys sharing a room. There's only a few rooms, a small little kitchen, like their closets kind of just like everywhere, and shoes are everywhere, like, and then they're pretty much just there to sleep, because when they're training, they're in the studio for sometimes maybe even over 20 hours a day, like singing, dancing. These guys are training like crazy. And I feel like now with what Maureen said, these trainee shows that we're watching, they're in much better conditions than the guys and girls were back then. I mean, of course, they're also still training just as hard, but there's little things here and there that they've had a better experience with compared to what we've seen in the past.
Yeah. I
No,
think with the
go ahead. Nur.
I think it's like the reality shows with the survival shows. Like Maureen said, with the editing and stuff like that, it's like it's the, like the way they edit most of the time is they want to cause drama with these trainees, and so it's really hard to because with the survival shows they ask for you to vote for them, and it's really hard for you to kind of make a 100% judgment if you like them or not, is because the way they edit looks like, oh, they're a bad person, they're not going to be good in this group. And so I think that's the bad part about survival shows, and about how you have to vote for these trainees to get into a group, is to see if you like, are they talented enough, or are they talented and um, work well with the group. And so it's really hard to make a judgment if you're not there, experience it yourself. Um, and either or, like, even if I don't stand that group, I would always respect all K-pop groups just because they went to the trainee process. It's hard. I can't. I personally can't do that. Training for like 20+ hours and being told you're not good enough. I would cry every day and give up.
To compare for some people, I would say it's like trying out for any pro sports team. Like, there's hundreds of kids trying out for like 32 teams, because essentially there's only so many K-pop labels out there that can have so many groups, and there's only so many people who can become famous when it comes to music, unfortunately. And there is even celebrities among the trainees that are like popular trainees that never debuted themselves, but they were just popular, a popular trainee that just never got a shot, and they had their own fandom, and they were trainees, but just never got their shot. And then from that hard work, they finally get to debut, and they sign what for most of the listeners is probably the first time they hear this. They sign what's called, nicknamed, their slave contract, and they're nodding with me, the girls, because that's what it's nicknamed. It's a slave contract. Usually, from what, like we said, it's 7 years where you basically give your life to a label, and they will control everything. Vad, can you talk about what aspects are controlled by labels when it comes to idols?
Um, a lot of things. Basically, once you sign the contract, you give the labels your life. So just simple things as in you can't even date, or if you show interest into a certain someone, you can't date them, you can't really talk to them, or if you do talk to them, obviously it has to be secretly. And just things that you can't obviously have social media, you can't post anywhere, you can have personal like Instagrams or Facebook, things like that. You have to delete everything. Also, dieting, that's another controversial topic of its own. So you have to maintain certain weights for the girls or even for the guys too. There's just a lot of high expectation or high standard in the K-pop community for the idols. They have to look a certain way. They have to act a certain way. They can't show a certain face. They always have to look, like presentable, I guess. So let's say if they have like an RBF face, right? So if I just sit here and look like this, I'm gonna be like, oh my god, why is she looking mean, or is she like not in a good mood? So they can even do that, and I think that's just very hard on all the idols, and especially if they join these trainees, these programs, these labels at such a young age, and it's heartbreaking, I guess, in a sense for me, because when I was like 10 or 13 years old, I was over here, having my own freedoms, doing whatever I want, kind of thing. But they don't have that. They're restricted to what the label is telling them to do. So it's definitely very tough. And if for like the listener, if they're interested, there's videos on YouTube that they could look it up, and idols explain themselves what they have to go through. It's very interesting, but also quite sad.
I think a good one to mention, I guess, right now is like the Blackpink documentary, right? I haven't watched it myself, but I think they talk about everything from ever since the beginning. So that would be a good one to watch on Netflix.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of like having good posture and controlling your expressions, especially in award shows where, all these K-pop groups come together in one like stadium for they to get their awards and for them to perform and stuff like that. A lot of time, these fans or fan sites, I guess, would record not only the performance but them reacting to anything. So they have to be really careful, especially with like boy groups reacting to girl groups or girl groups reacting to boy groups performing. They have to be careful if they dance a lot or if they don't dance a lot. They get backlash with that. They have to be careful if they glance at someone because someone in that room will record them personally and be like, oh my god, that person is interested in this person, that ship, you know what I mean? And so it's really hard to like maintain good posture and expression, especially if like cameras are up in your face 24/7 and you have to just like be careful because no matter what, even if you don't have good expression, they'll get mad at you. But if you do have good expression, they will get mad at you too. So it's like I feel really bad for these, idols because they can't really do anything that they want to do. So yeah.
They usually debut, you would say, between 18 and 20, but some have debuted even younger, around 15, 16 years old.
Oh, for sure. Now you're seeing a bunch of groups they're debuting super, super
Young.
early, and
Yeah.
if you account in their years of training, they've probably been training since they were single digits, maybe. Like
Maybe.
it's crazy
Yeah.
how
Mhm.
it gives you more respect to all of these K-pop groups because they're the ones that decided to risk everything at such a young age in order to achieve their dreams.
And they have to be on at all times, like Nurul said. They have to be in the perfect mood.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if y'all saw there's this video so this is the girl group ITZY. Their youngest member is 15. Like when I was 15, like Van said, when I was 15, I was, having the time of my life. Like I can't imagine
high school.
Like I can't imagine having to like perform in front of thousands of people and like being at such a young age. Like I feel like you're also susceptible to a lot of criticism, because I think in anywhere there you will face a lot of backlash and criticism, and I feel like for somebody so young, you're still developing a lot of thoughts and ideas, and you're already restricted. You're already like in this bubble and shell, like as is, and I think to even see that it might affect an artist's mental state. And I remember in that video, it was a show that they filmed, and JYP, not J Park, excuse me, JYP brought in these. There's just like these guys, and they're like, oh, like ITZY just debuted, and JYP, he wants perfection. So These guys, they just sat on the floor, just like observing them, and they performed their latest song. But JYP was like, one more time, again. It wasn't enough for him. It wasn't exactly the movements, maybe the beat count wasn't exactly on par. So I can only imagine, like, if you think about it, where it's like there are times in our lives where we want to give up, and then they're like, nope, do it again, do it again, do it again. It's like it's never enough for I guess the producers or the label itself, and to just be to even just like be in that type of environment consistently over and over again till you debut out, like you're still having to continue that step over and over.
One recent controversy that shook everyone was someone that I am a big fan of, which is Irene, who's the leader of Red Velvet. She was involved very recently in the controversy where it was, I believe, a makeup person did an anonymous post saying how Irene had behaved, I guess, rude for her. And there was both sides, where people were saying, oh, these celebrities, they just, they act like queens and kings in front of everyone and they're rude. And then other people were saying, well, these artists have to be on at the same time. They have to be on 24/7, perfect person, nice. You cannot have a bad day, from what they were saying. Like, you cannot be like, oh, today I'm not in the mood. No, you have to be in the mood. You have to be in the mood to say hi, to be nice, to be. So it was both sides, and I guess that tunnels into the next topic, is that the idols, they went to their training, they debut, and now they have fandoms. And K-pop, as a lot of people have probably seen, are not your typical fandoms. They really aren't. They can literally take over Twitter in the globe at a snap notice because of someone changing their hair color. Nurul, do you want to speak about fandoms?
Yeah, sure. I mean, not only that, not only like when, let's say like Jimin changed his hair color, or when Jungkook is doing his whatever. It's not only that, but I think it's also like fandoms are very powerful in a way where they can come together, especially when it comes to really important stuff. So let's say like, remember in March where Black Lives Matters came about. Everybody was just very worried, and when BTS came on and announced that they donated $1 million to one of the organizations for the Black Lives Matters, ARMY came together and matched that $1 million within 24 hours. And so I think that's yes, no?
ARMY is the fandom name to BTS.
Yes. It's called it's an abbreviation.
Oh, there we go. You go ahead.
Adorable representation. What is it? No, what is it? Adorable representation, something. But it's called ARMY. Anyway, so ARMY, they matched that $1 million that BTS. So it's like together, it was 2 million. And so I think that's the great part about being in a fandom, especially K-pop fandom. You can come together, and no matter like where you're from, where you what religion you are, what skin color you are, I think if you can come together, and because you represent that like group that you like, I think that's a good thing. But also there's a bad thing about the fandom in K-pop. But yeah.
Maureen, you could so Nurul spoke about a huge fandom, which is Army, but I remember you going to Austin to see Day Six when Day Six was tiny and not as popular as they are today. Can you speak to when it came to like smaller fandoms and smaller groups?
Yeah, funny enough, I actually have their poster hanging right here. I bought the ticket so I guess the better part about going to a smaller group, so for the ticket that I bought, I want to say it wasn't really that expensive. I want to say maybe I spent about probably less than $100, something like that. And you get in that tier that I purchased, you get a signed poster from them. So I got a signed poster for free with that ticket purchase, and I feel like in a typical like a BTS concert, like that's rare for that to happen. But I also do have a signed BTS poster in front of me as well that I that I just so happen to have. No, oh the story how I acquired this poster actually. I was staying in my college my last 2 years of college. I had just moved into my last apartment, and the girl who was there before me had some like issues with my roommates, and so she had moved out completely, and I took over her room. But I found this like behind the drawers, and they're like, oh yeah, she went to the concert, she got it signed, and it's laminated perfectly fine, so you can keep it. I was like,
Wow.
People would pay you hundreds, if not thousands, for that poster right now.
To put it into perspective, Maureen got into a Day Six meet and greet concert kind of deal.
Yeah, it's a
and got a signed poster for $100. What can $100 get you? A nosebleeds ticket to BTS? Up in like
not
even.
Not even. Nosebleed tickets.
How much did you pay?
Yeah.
But so those smaller fandoms, and can you tell us more about your interaction there? It's pretty unique.
Wait, me or
yeah, no, the smaller fandoms.
So at that Day 6, so it was at Emo's. Emo's in Austin is a very small like venue, so it's very intimate. And so they had like time like in between each song, like they would sit the members down and do like introductions. They had a whole ass like board with here's all these different questions, and they would pick out a single sticky note and answer to the questions. They actually played Wii Sports in the screen in front of us too. It's like one member versus the other, and play different like games. So it was definitely a very like intimate experience. And then there's like somebody like hosting, like almost like a game host, like, oh, so how are you guys all doing tonight? Are you guys enjoying the concert experience? Or I was in between each song there was a game like that in a sense. It was, I would say, one of the best experiences in my entire life. If I could go to another one of their concerts, I would totally do so. They were slowly growing and getting up there. I was actually really surprised they even decided to stop in Austin versus Dallas. In Texas, Dallas is the central area where all K-pop artists go to. And, for us who live in San Antonio, Houston, Austin, maybe soon to be Austin, but San Antonio, Houston, mainly, it's like it's a 5-hour drive for all of us. And, it does make you consider, like, is it really worth it to really drive up? I mean, yes, it is, but, you have to consider all those things when you're budgeting for a K-pop concert. So when they went to Austin, I was like, and an Emo's too. It's pretty, I would say, a decent pricing for tickets. I was like, oh yeah, I'm buying these tickets like right off the bat, and they didn't sell out like that quickly either. Some concerts like BTS, where you wait for 2 hours in the line just to even get a single ticket. So in a smaller group, it's easier for you to obtain tickets. Definitely has a better like intimate experience with the artists. You're able to submit your questions, get them answered, and be able to interact with them almost like on a one-on-one basis. And funny enough, actually, they also sold 2 more tiers above the one I sold, or the one I purchased. And it was like an afterwards, like after the concert, all the rest of the tiers below that would have to leave, and they would be doing like, I think it was a a handshake, a hand touch, or
The
whatever.
high touch.
High touch, yeah, it's a high touch, and then the tier before that would have gotten like backstage access or something like that. So
Van and Trang, you guys have probably been members of how many fandoms by now? Like, can you guys talk about your experiences with fandoms?
So I guess I've been part of fandoms that were, I guess, smaller at the time, and then I've been with ones that are now like huge, right? So, I guess I want to say my best experiences with fandoms are, um, when I go to the concert. So like you meet all these different people. I've been to concerts with you guys where, I'm with you guys and then I meet other people and like we're all just one big group having fun, right? And then I've been to other concerts. So recently this year I went to 17's concert. I went with Van and our other friend, Ramon, and I got, seats at the pit while they got seats, towards the back. And I was like, you know what? It's fine because uh, these guys are also fellow, like all the people around me, we all have the same interests. Like, I'm sure I'll be able to find friends like really quick. And sure enough, like I spent the entire day with girls that I was in line with all day, and now, talk to them on Instagram here and there, um, message them every now and then. And so I just feel like the fandoms, K-pop fandoms, I feel like uh, we're very close knit. You get a lot of good experiences with them. I've also had I was cleaning out my room the other day and I found letters that I used to exchange. So I used to have like pen pals when I was part of like fandoms of past groups, and I used to be online a lot, and so I would meet other fans from around the country, and we would send each other letters and gifts, and like I still have those too. And so I don't know. I feel like for me personally, I've had pretty good experiences with the people that I've met through K-pop. And even so, I feel like all of you guys, maybe minus Noe, but all of you guys, um, I, I like with Van especially. So me and Van met back in high school, like my freshman year. And I remember like our first conversation, we bonded on the fact that we listened to K-pop and watched K-dramas. And then the same thing happened with like Nurul and Maureen. I was like, oh, like, they listen to K-pop too. And like we just start talking back and forth about like who we like, blah, blah, blah. And then now with Noe, now he shares that interest with us. So, it's just I feel like K-pop really helped bring a lot of the relationships that I have now with people, and so that's one thing that I really love about K-pop and K-pop fandoms.
Mm-hmm.
Van, your experiences with fandoms?
Yeah. So back when I was like a teen, so this was when K-pop hasn't blown up, right? Like the U.S., nobody know. My high school, middle school, nobody know about K-pop. They're like, "What is that?" Or, "Why are you listening to that?" type of thing. So I wasn't really like blending well with the like school friends on like music ways. Like I couldn't connect with them on that level. But the fandoms of K-pop is what helped me. I would say in the music wise, because I was getting into forums. At the time it was like 2PM, Super Junior. So I get into like their fandom, their fan website, and I make friends with these fans, right? We would talk about K-pop together. We find common interests. Not just K-pop, but from there you go into like other things like personal stuff that you could share with them about. So that you just basically bonded like through like internet friends, but we share common interests. We share with what we like about K-pop, other things outside of K-pop. So that's really good. Um, and now I'm not really much into like the fandom because I just don't have time, simply put it that way. But back then I would make like GIF, right? That's what it's called.
Yeah.
So I would create GIF of like K-pop biases that I like, and I share them with fandoms, and they would share it within the forums. So it's just really fun for you to interact that way. And even now, the same like with Trang, we went to 17 concerts together. So she was in the like you're in the top tier, right? So Armand and I was all the way in the back, but the time that she was already in the venue, Armand and I were just walking around, finding on Twitter like other fans of giving away freebies, and we go like make friends with them. We talk to them. Even when we're in line, they'll be like, "Hey, we can like keep your spot. You can go get your stuff." So it's just really nice, and the fandoms often of time they're very nice. I mean, unless you do something to like piss them off, obviously. But we're very together, very synchronized, and we all make like banners or freebies giving away to other fans. And when the concert comes together, everybody having like a similar banner to show their artist. So that's really fun, and I think that's why I can connect with like the K-pop fandoms on another level, because we just all interact and all come together for like when the times like that. So it's fun.
For those who don't know what a freebie is, it's literally merch that free merch that people will make. Like someone will go out of their way, print photo cards, banners, something, and literally give them out at concerts to people, so everyone can have the same thing.
Yeah, at 17. So at 17, there's this literally this van. The fans, they drove like a van or like a SUV, whatever. It's like a bunch of boxes, just banners. So everybody would go to that SUV and be like, "Hey, can I get a banner?" And then so I went up and I said, "Can I get a banner?" And they're like, "Okay, can you take a whole stack and give it to that area that was sitting at the concert?" So they gave me like 100 something of all banners. And by the time the concert started, I start passing it out to everybody that sit in my section. And they would be like, "Oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you for all the hard work." I didn't do anything but passing it out. It was just really nice. It's really fun for them to see that they put so much effort into all of this. Very creative. Yeah, a lot of money as well. Well, I mean, these fans has money. I just pass it out.
But I think for those who just got into K-pop and wanting to like go to concerts, when we can go to concerts, but you don't have friends to go with or who are into K-pop, I think you shouldn't be afraid to go to it by yourself, because then when you go, you will make friends anyways, and you want to make memories and stuff like that, and so just don't be afraid. Just go and maybe like go on Twitter and ask, "Hey, are you going to the Dallas concert? Because I'm going. Do you wanna meet up or something like that?" Most likely they will say yes, and they will like talk to you and automatically friends.
It's crazy how much work goes into the kid. I'll share this. I'll put myself out there. Your boy, yours truly, at some point was a official G-Friend reality show translator for Spanish. So in my college days, yeah, no way. So in my college days, so basically, there's reality shows or just little shows that your group goes on to. Someone will translate it from Korean to English, the subtitles, and then I would take that video and translate it from English to Spanish and then share it on like fandom pages where people can watch the shows and just read the subtitles in Spanish so they could enjoy the show as well. And I used to do that back in my college days for G-Friend.
Oh my God.
I just don't have the time for that anymore, but there's people that do that all the time. There's hard work.
Oh, definitely. Like when, let's say like when someone go on live, and usually when they go on live, there's no direct translation yet. And so what I usually do, I just go on Twitter, who I follow that translate the videos. They would literally just like translate it live while you I would have two screens where it's like Twitter account and then the live, and I would just see, okay, Jimin said this or Lisa said this, and then I'm like, oh okay. The dedication is really awesome. I just thought, no way. Good job.
That's what I used to do.
No, we're not gonna lie. So I tried that back when I was in middle school. Like I tried to translate from like English to Vietnamese. Like when it come out, I couldn't do it. I opened the app and then I found a map at the time, right? So I got the time to type it in, and I was like, But how do you say it in Vietnamese? And I realized that I was not that proficient. So I just did it for my effort.
Korean bahasa.
Props to you for doing that, honestly.
Yeah.
You learn a lot of editing and stuff when you do those things, because you have people will call you out in the comments like, "Hey, she wasn't even talking. Why are you putting her?" That's just
Yeah.
But there was deadlines. I had to get it out by a certain point. Like, it had to be uploaded because they had already posted it somewhere that it was gonna be. It was crazy. And a lot of hard work goes into the fandoms, and it is. I like speaking both sides on my podcast, and there is people that work hard and honestly are just good fans to their idols. And there's those few bad apples that just go a little overboard. They are what we call sassing fans. Does anybody know what like the direct translation would be for sassing?
Overly
Psycho,
obsessive fan.
psycho
Psycho.
fans that go out of their way to make an idol feel like make any type of human being feel very uncomfortable.
So just
Like
how we were
barely.
saying, we were saying biases. We were saying you have your favorites, you have your favorite groups. You work hard to create all this stuff to make them comfortable, to make them succeed, and then some people get a little overboard. Who wants to take the hard ball?
I think it's because of
Go ahead, Nurul. Go ahead.
You got it. You got it.
I think it's because of like the fantasy of it. And so let's say like you're are really into this boy group and you're biased, right? And then the fantasy of them being available, let's say, and then you're just like, I don't know, like I think you imagine them as what you think they are, and then they just like overly just like want to know every single thing they do or every single thing they go to, like even like if they go to the bathroom they would literally go if they don't care, or even like their private schedule they would literally, most of these things they are rich because
Yeah.
they could be like literally, you know how these artists they would buy tickets not usually or mostly first class, right? They would literally know where, let's say where Lisa sits, and then they would know like what like seat to get into that first class in the airplane. And so I think, I don't know, they're just like very out of this world. They don't really, yeah.
I would say the first experience or first time I've ever heard of a Sasaeng fan was when EXO, when they like first soared into like where they were currently, where they're extremely popular. And I remember, I think it was Chanyeol, one of the members, I think it was his sister who got married or something like that, and EXO just so happened to be like guests attending that wedding. However, I think fans showed up to that wedding as well, and there were pictures of this one lady who was basically like standing up on on the chairs just to take pictures of EXO like coming into the venue. And needless to say, like the bride and groom weren't very happy. Obviously, like this is supposed to be their special day. Like it's basically ruined by fans. Like this is, and it morphed. EXO, I would say, probably I've heard had the biggest fandom group of Sasaeng fans, and so like I think there's another article written out there. Somehow, one of the fans got into EXO's dorm room and stole like one of the members' like boxers or something like that, and they knew like which member's boxers this was. And I think this is so gonna sound so gross. So if you want to skip this part, you can. But I think there is still like pubic hair on there or something like that, and they like put that in a plastic bag, whatever, and still like sold that.
This
Oh,
episode
it was
of this episode officially became explicit right there.
oh yeah. Like
I was
there's
about to say something more explicit.
you can
but I'm
edit
not.
this out.
I'm
You can
gonna
edit this out.
stop myself.
You can edit this part out. And then it was also like I've heard to the point where like during concerts, like girls would throw like their like bras or like panties to the guys, like just hoping that like catch it or whatever. Like it sounded pretty gross.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
pretty normal. I was gonna throw that out there. The throwing bras and panties, that's pretty normal. I think even at Travis Scott concert is the same.
Yeah.
So it's like more of the hip hop.
I think it's new. It was new for like Asian countries, but not for Westerners.
Yeah.
For Westerner, I think it's
Sure.
pretty common.
For sure.
Van Trang, have you guys run into your sasaengs?
Well, I mean, I didn't run into them, but I would say everybody heard of sasaeng. So my definition of sasaeng is an overly obsessed person that would try no matter what, at whatever cause, to get their idol's attention. So they would go out their ways to do whatever it takes. And you just heard Maureen's story, so things like that happens, and it gets very scary and very uncomfortable. And I'm just gonna flat out say it, like, I don't know why it's a thing, and I don't know why they're not being stopped. Because we heard of the terms, but it's still going on, and nothing is being done about it. And there should be I mean, I think it's getting better now, but back then, I think like EBSK and Super Junior, Trent will probably speak on this too. Like, it's just going crazy. Like, nothing was being done really. Like, the label wasn't really helping much either. They just kind of there and they do whatever they want. And like Nurul will say, they have money, right? So, and I don't know, does the parents not do anything about this, or like do they not know that their daughters or their sons are doing this to like these celebrities, but they still couldn't like continue to do it, and they go out of their way, they spend all these monies, and they make the idols very uncomfortable. But now I think hopefully it's being better, like the label is actually taking care of the situation or getting lawyer involved. But yeah, that's how I view the sasaeng. I think they just need to get a life, really.
Better watch out. Make sure none of them are listening right now.
I
You're listening.
But no, I kind of echo what all of them say. So
I guess when on a good note, our idols go through all this, and we call them idols for a reason. I think they work so hard, they deserve a title like that. I know a lot of people think, oh, that's a lot. They go through a lot, and they suffer through a lot, and there's so many topics aside that we could go through and talk about. I'm just gonna throw some out there. Just the relationships things, like them not being able to date and being able to having to just bottle up feelings like that. Of course, sadly, there's depression issues, but also when it comes to idols, and that's a whole topic that we could talk about itself. And also those groups that just never made it, that they debuted and they 2 albums later, the album just doesn't sell, and the label cuts you off after all that hard work, and you think you made it or you don't. But I think we'll end on, can you guys think in the future how you will remember K-pop, or you'll still be into K-pop like in the future later on? I know now we're still young. It's kind of normal for us to be into this, but just later down the road, like, be into K-pop. Like, what do you guys envision yourself or K-pop itself?
I think for me, so me personally, I feel like I'll always be into K-pop since I got into K-pop at such a young age. But what I really like about it now, and what I hope for it to be in the future, is that K-pop will continue to grow. Um, Maybe it won't grow as exponentially as it has in the past couple of years, but I hope that it'll continue to break into other international markets other than just the like the U.S. They're starting to go into like Europe, into other parts of Asia, into Canada, Mexico, Southern American countries. So I hope for them to continue to grow, um, and for them to be able to venture out into the new markets and do different things. Um, but yeah,
What's a nice memory you have of K-pop? As well, that's be my follow up question.
a nice memory that I have of K-pop. I want to say my most, I guess, treasured memory of K-pop is when I went to the 17 concert earlier this year. This is my current group that I stan. But my absolute favorite part of that was that one part where they were singing Smile Flower, which is one of their slow songs. And there was just a moment where 17 stopped singing and just the entire stadium was singing the chorus all together. And I literally cried. That was the most amazing experience, and like all the lights and everything. Like that was the most amazing. Oh, and then second most amazing K-pop memory was when we ran into DK, Dogyum out in LA, in the streets of LA. He was right here next to me. So yeah, those are my most treasured memories.
Nurul, what's your hopes for K-pop in the future?
Yeah, like Trang said, I hope it'll continue to grow. I mean, I think it's slowly getting there, but it still needs a lot of work, especially. It's like, here's the thing with me in the US is like they think, or like it's like we're so like cultured, but we're still a long way because they're still like very much so like, oh, they're Asian, or oh, we can't understand Korean. Like, how can we vibe with that? But like, we can vibe with like
Spanish music.
Despacito, but you can't vibe with like any other like songs that is not in English. And so we're getting there. So I hope that it's like a norm where these K-pop groups can come into these Western industries and just not only be like, let's say in award shows, not only be like, oh, the best K-pop group, but can be in like, oh, artist of the year in the Western, award shows. And so I hope that in the future it can come to that, but we're still, being a long way. But personally, with me, I think K-pop will be like the best like adult youth memory for me. I think when I'm like older and I have kids, I would like have like these like boxes of memories and like, look, I have these albums that I have. These are the days of music were amazing.
I'm gonna be the mom that takes their kids to concerts.
Yes! I'm like,
not
no.
because the kids want to go, but because
you
go.
Nurul, and what's your favorite memory of K-pop?
Memory, I think it's more of like the friends that I like made like with you guys. Like I like college days is where where we vibe so much with K-pop music, and we would just come together and just like either in the car we would listen, or at the house, or I always beg you guys to go to like K-pop karaoke, and then like I think that was like so fun. But with like artists, I think when we went to Blackpink and Jisoo saw me and we were just vibing. That was really fun. But yeah, I hope I make more memories in the future when COVID ends. Yeah.
Maureen, what's your hope for K-pop in the future?
I feel like Van and, or sorry, Trang and Nurul pretty much said it for in the first part. Like it's still a growing phenomenon. For if anything, I would hope BTS did push it as far as really anyone has really gone. But now Blackpink is kind of popping through. You're kind of also seeing some other artists as well come in, and so I feel like BTS was the guy group. I really hope that Blackpink will be the girl group that really like punches through to the US and hopefully have the same type of effect that BTS has had on a lot of people here in the States, at least. Just trying to normalizing the Asian culture, or like have more knowledge of Asian culture into the States, because I feel like this is, it's a hard barrier to get into. And I would say that I will probably still always, maybe a part of me will still always be listening to K-pop songs. A lot of it, I would say, kind of goes into like sometimes like how I feel at certain times. You kind of get into your feels a little bit. And so like it's really nice even for the girl groups or guy groups that don't exist really as much anymore. Like rehearing their songs, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, like it brings back that memory or time frame in my life that I was, listening to these songs. And I actually associate memories to songs specifically. So if I was in a good part of my life, like I associated with the song, then I will always keep listening to it, vice versa. And I would say for like a good K-pop memory that I have, Day 6 was unfortunately the only K-pop concert that I went to, and that's the only thing I can really speak on. But prior to COVID, I was really looking forward to the BTS concert. Like, I worked my blood, sweat, and tears. I worked blood, sweat, and tears because I was at work. I had 2 screens, and one of my screens was trying to get BTS tickets for Van, Trang, me, and Armand. And I was like, I was just on, like, I was like, oh my gosh. And now at my job, I have obviously other things I need to do too, but I would like minimize the screen so I would still be in line. And so when I finally got the tickets, I was really, really excited. And like Trang and Van, like we and Armand, we had planned with Nurul to like, we would meet up at this day and like where we were staying. I was really looking forward to that experience. And so I also can only hope that once COVID goes over, that we still get to experience that concert.
I'm never letting go of that ticket. Never. Until we go.
I'm very excited to hear Van's perspective, because Van is not just very versed in K-pop, but just Korean music in general, both underground and popular music. So what do you hope for the future, Van?
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask another question because I got lost in all the conversation. But well, I agree with everybody that just mentioned on K-pop, and so I would say for the future, I hope people are recognizing K-music in general, not just K-pop, not just idol, but K-hip-hop. Hopefully for them to get more appreciated, get for idols and artists in general or Asian artists in general to get more recognitions for the hard work that they put in. So that's what I hope for the future. And as far as for my memories, I have 2, I would say, memories that I really cherish. But this one is pretty given. But last year I went to, so I'm a diehard J-Park fan, okay? So finally had a concert, like a world tour concert, and since he's not K-pop, it's quite rare for them to have like a world tour. Usually it's only in Korea. So I was really excited. I said I have to go no matter what. So we went, and of course we got
Florida. We went to Florida.
Yes, we went to Florida. Like in the middle of the weekend between work and all that stuff, whatever. But yeah, we went, we got the VIP, and of course I met J Park with Train, and we got a picture together, and we got a hug. So that was my favorite memories. I get to say that I love his music and that I love him. So that's all that matters. But that was one of my favorite. And then the other ones I wanted to mention was that I went to a BTS concert in New Jersey at the Met Stadium with one of my friends. And after the concert, I met this girl. She's like a teen fan. So she's a teenager. She went with her dad, and her dad actually gave her that ticket as a surprise. So they went to BTS concert together. And so I was standing in line waiting for Uber, which took like 3 hours. I was talking to them, and she was like, "Yeah, we drove all the way from I think New Hampshire to New Jersey." So he drove her. They got a hotel and everything. He surprised her with a ticket, so he took her to the BTS concert. And I thought that was
Oh,
the
that's so
sweetest
sweet.
thing. And
Oh.
it's just really nice to see that in the States now, like the parents are recognizing not just the fans, but their parents as well, older generation are recognizing K-pop. And they actually say, yeah, I really enjoy their music. And it is really nice to see that it's opened up to older audience as well. So that's also one of my favorite interactions that I get with just the fandoms. So yeah, that's my take on your questions. I hope that answers it.
Well, I want to thank y'all for being on the show. Hopefully, uh, I'm kind of sad I have to do this, but I feel like I need to preface and remind people that these are our personal opinions, and we respect every fandom, we respect every group out there. Um, a lot of people won't know this, but it can get pretty heated when it comes to K-pop, and I say we had pretty good takes. I have all range of fans here today, so I want to thank you all for being on the show. If you guys could maybe shout out where you guys if you guys people want to interact with you and just basically fangirl with you together. So I don't know if you guys want to share a social media channel. Van, do you want to shout out yours again?
Um, yes, but before we do that, I do have
Okay.
one question for you, Noe.
Yes.
Um, knowing that you probably want the newest into the K-pop, so could you also share one of your favorite memories? That would be really great to hear from your perspective as well.
Yes.
It's interesting because I got into K-pop in a sad way. If Van and Trang would remember this perfectly. So
Yeah.
I'll mention that, and I'll mention my favorite member. But the way your host got into K-pop was me and Trang and Van were driving back from Dallas to San Antonio from an event. And my girlfriend at the time had just broken up with me. And I literally just gave him the keys. And I was like, you guys drive back home. I'm just going to lay in the back and just like be depressed. And I was taking a nap and I woke up and I suddenly hear the song by G Friend that's called Me Gustas Tu. And yes, that is Spanish. Uh, and that is what surprised me when that happened. And yeah, I was like, hold up, is that Spanish? And they were like, yeah, it's like Spanish. I was like, play it again. And they played it again. And I asked them to play it at least like another time after that. And then they started explaining K-pop to me. They had mentioned K-pop, but I didn't know what K-pop was. I was very ignorant. I was like, oh, I don't know what that is. And I would just walk away. And that's where it just caught. And it's weird to say, but Gfriend did help me during that breakup. They got me through that. It was the music and how positive K-pop music usually is that it was able to get me through that time. Um, when it comes to my favorite memory, unfortunately, I have not been able to see Gfriend in concert just yet. But I have been one of the lucky few, I guess, in the whole United States to get to see twice in concert. And Trang will tell you, I'm a very big Dion fan, and seeing them in concert was just amazing for me. It, even though it was not a crazy ticket that was super up close, just the experience, you could feel the energy and that comes from that. I've been lucky to see a lot of great K-pop groups. I've seen Red Velvet in South by Southwest. I saw Blackpink with Nurul and Trang as well.
You get to ask Cha-Cha a question.
Oh yeah, I was about to
Yeah.
go into that. And I've seen A Pink as well at an anime convention
In
with Dragons,
Houston.
and yeah, and so all those memories were great. But when it comes to talking about the future of K-pop, I actually have a very interesting take. I am very lucky. It was 2016 South by Southwest. I was volunteering. You're able to get into the events for free, and I was able to be in a panel just like this one, but it was obviously with experts of the industry. And Cha, who is a very famous music producer when it comes to K-pop and just K music in general, including hip hop mostly, he's very famous. And Van is literally like fangirling right now, but I was able to meet him and talk to him and shake his hand and everything. And I was able to I asked a question in the panel, and I myself, I'm Mexican and I'm Latino, and Latino music has become a norm when it comes to America and Western music. It's normal to see people vibe to Spanish music when they just don't speak a lick of Spanish, but they like it. And I asked Cha if he would ever, could he ever imagine listening or seeing in Latin music there's the Grammys, and then Latin music gets its own Grammy ceremony. There's the Latin Grammys, and because that's how big Latin music is. Spanish music itself gets its own Grammys. So I asked him, could you ever see an Asia Grammys with the trajectory that K-pop was saying? And that was 26. That's not even close to how big it is today. And at the time, I think he could see it, but not really. He was like, that would be really cool. I just hope that he mentioned something really interesting. It was about breaking barriers and being able to let people just enjoy music in general. Being able to enjoy music when you just don't necessarily understand the language, but you just get the feeling from the artist. And when he said that, that was very interesting. That was just, it was mind blowing. It was something when he would say, and I hope that is the hope for K-pop and Asian music, Asian representation when it comes to music. Learning to break those barriers when it comes to the Western cultures. So once again, I want to thank you all for being on the show. If you guys want to shout out yourselves and us, just re-emphasize who you are. Let's start with Van. Van, where can they find you and follow you?
Yes, they can follow me at Vanny Draws 94 on Instagram.
Yeah. Maureen.
Oh, you can follow me on Instagram. It's sub Maureen with an extra N at the end.
Nurul.
You can follow me on Instagram. It's TEH_Nurul NURUL, or Twitter because I rant there, and about K-pop and stuff, and I retweet, and so it's TEH_FITRIANNI. Yeah, Cipriani.
Trang.
You can follow me on Instagram. It's Trang Do. It's AYEEE. There's 3 E's, and then my name, Trang Do. TRANGDO.
Thank you so much, and thank you to you, for listening to this episode of Your Way with No Way. And just a reminder, this episode of Your Way with No Way is available on all major podcast streaming services such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. As well as a video version of this podcast will be available on YouTube. You can follow me on at yosoinoe both on Twitter and Instagram, as well as you can catch me live on Twitch Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, where you can talk to me about the different topics that we had on the podcast, like this episode or any podcast in the past. Once again, thank you for being to listening for the show. My name is Noe, and I'm just gonna say it. This has been these great girls' way when it comes to K-pop.
Thank you for having us, Noah.
Thank you.